What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. You read the title. Today we are ranking every single MLB rotation going into the 2025 MLB season. As you will notice throughout this video, some teams have more pitchers listed than others. There's a reason for that. Bad teams tend to throw more starters. Now, some teams run a 6-man rotation. Some team like the Dodgers have 100 starting pitchers. All right, I went on FanGraphs, and how I broke it down was that if you were close to 100 innings pitched or going over 100 innings pitched, I'm throwing you in the rotation, all right? So yes, I went off FanGraphs projections. If you don't like it, don't take it up with me. Take it up with FanGraphs. All right, let's get into it. First, we have, where the hell did the Yankees go? Oh, the Yankees were supposed to be first because I had it listed by divisions, but now it's disorganized. Welp, I ruined it. All right, Yankees are first. Fried, Cole, Rodon, Schmidt, Heel, Stroman. I'm going to put it in great staff. Oh, I should probably go over the tiers. We have multiple Cy Young candidates, great staff, bright spot or two, hear me out, getting dicey, and God does not shine his light here. My reasoning for the Yankees going in great staff and not one above and multiple Cy Young candidates is pretty simple. Garrett Cole coming off a big injury, Max Fried coming off a down year. It's a really good rotation, and it's maybe one of the best in the AL East, maybe the best in the AL East. We'll continue to go over that, but I see it as Garrett Cole's aging. Max Fried just wasn't as good as he has been last year. Carlos Rodon's starting to come into his own. You hope Clark Schmidt can go more than 5 because he was just a 5-inning god last year. He'd clear 5, but he would never really go much further. Luis Gil's still young. Marcus Stroman exists, so there's kind of some issues there. However, I think they are still one of the best staffs in MLB. You got to realize that having 3 great, Rodon, I don't know if I'd say great, but 3 really good starters are going to get you put pretty high. Boston Red Sox, we got Garrett Crochet, Tanner Houck, Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, Walker Buehler, and Lucas Giolito I threw in there. Obviously, Giolito is coming off a big injury. You don't know how many innings he's going to throw. However, I threw him in there anyways because he's probably going to start some games. Same with Walker Buehler. He's going to start some games as well. I'd say Crochet, Houck, Bayo is pretty good for like a top 3 in your rotation. After that, I don't know how it's going to play out. Walker Buehler had a mixed bag season last year. Down the stretch, he looked really good, but when he came back, he was pretty bad. And of course, a guy like Cutter Crawford's just kind of all right. I'm going to put them in a bright spot or 2. It's not the best rotation you'll ever see. However, it's strong. It's strong enough, right? And on top of that, pitching at Fenway is pretty difficult. Down the lines is pretty shallow. So obviously that doesn't help. And then you have a couple guys coming off of big injuries. Garrett Crochet, while not coming off a big injury, didn't throw a ton of innings down the stretch last year because of the White Sox. That's a White Sox issue. But Brian Bayo wasn't his best self. Lucas Giolito's coming off a big injury, and so is Walker Buehler. He still hasn't thrown 100 innings since he's been back yet, I don't believe. So I have to throw a little bit of like, I'm not sure in there. But at the same time, it's not a really bad rotation either. I still want to go in order, so if I'm going like out of this line, deal with it. We're going to the Tampa Bay Rays, McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Ryan Pepio, Drew Rasmussen, Shane Baz, and Zach Littell. I think, hear me out, this isn't a bad rotation at all. I like what Taj Bradley did at some points last season. There was some other points where I didn't like what he was doing, but there was some points where Taj Bradley looked like a legit ace type of guy. Not sure what we're going to get in 2025, obviously, but the issue with this team is they've just never been able to stay healthy. Shane McClanahan missed a bulk of last year. Taj Bradley did get hurt, I believe, at some point. And then Shane Baz hasn't thrown a ton of innings in his career yet for a reason. No offense. And then like Drew Rasmussen, I think he missed some time last year too. So it's tough. I'm not sure what the ceiling on this rotation is because, like I said, Zach Littell, Ryan Pepio, Drew Rasmussen, these aren't the best pitchers in the world. But the Rays are a team where they could really make this work. Obviously, Shane McClanahan is a really, really good pitcher, right, in his own right. But the rest of the rotation, depending on how you feel about Taj Bradley, can kind of fall off a cliff a little bit. I'm really not sure. But like I said, the reason it's in Hear Me Out and not getting dicey is because Hear Me Out, it's the Rays. They can make wine out of water, Baltimore Orioles, we're looking at Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez, Chuck Morton, the Salt Man, Sugano, I forget what his first name is, Dean Kramer, and Cade Povich. I'm gonna put it in. Hear me out. It's not a bad lineup. Zach Eflin owns the Yankees. You get to see the Yankees multiple times a year. Zach Eflin's really good against them, right? Zach Eflin was really good in Baltimore in general, I think. Grayson Rodriguez had a really good season before. I think he got injured as well. But he was a very plus starter last season for them when he was throwing. Charlie Morton's always been a plus starter wherever he's gone, unless age really kills him. I think he'll be fine. Sagano, young, but not young. Like this is his first season in MLB, but he is not a young pitcher. He's in his 30s, I believe. So I'm not sure what you're going to get out of him, but you hope you can get plus innings out of him. Dean Kramer and Cade Povich are like back-end guys who can give you innings, but also Dean Kramer and Cade Povich could quickly turn into Albert Suarez if things were to get that bad. And I don't mind me some Albert Suarez either, although he's not the best pitcher in and of itself. But with guys like Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez, Charlie Morton, it's not the best three pitchers you've ever heard of. It isn't, Johnson, Schilling. It's not that, right? This isn't Cliff Lee, Cole Hamels, and Roy Halladay. No, but it's 3+ pitchers and a bunch of guys that you're hoping can give you plus innings, and I don't mind that. The only reason it's not higher is because someone like Grayson Rodriguez, he coming off an injury, I'm not sure. Zach Eflin's like a fine starter. They don't have a true ace unless if Grayson Rodriguez were to step up into that, which he can. I just have to see it before I can just automatically assume that's what's going to happen. Where are my Blue Jays at? Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, Bowden Francis, Yariel Rodriguez, and Jeff Hoffman, who they just signed. I threw Jeff Hoffman in there because I think someone was talking about him converting. Not sure whether that's still going to happen with Toronto because they got a bunch of guys that can throw. But this is not a bad rotation. I'm actually going to put it up pretty high. I know. Some people are probably like, you got the Rays lower. I do. Kevin Gausman had a really bad year. I don't think he can do that. I don't think he'll do that again. I think he'll bounce back. Kevin Gausman has been a plus pitcher for 4 years, I'd say. And then he has one bad year. I'm not giving up. Jose Barrios is a plus starter. He goes through stretches where he looks like an ace. He goes through stretches where he looks like he should not be pitching. Just like every other mid pitcher, they go through really good stretches, really bad stretches. Just depends on where the numbers and the water level's out at. Chris Bassett, bottom fell out last season, but this is a guy that can throw plus innings. He has in the past. I think he can again in the future. And then you're looking at Bowden Francis, who threw plus innings last year. Yariel Rodriguez, who threw plus innings last year. And be assigned Jeff Hoffman, who I think, if he can convert to a starter successfully, could be a plus rotation piece. If not, you just move him back to the bullpen, see you later. You can go close games or something because the Phillies essentially just swapped closers with the Blue Jays, so that's cool. But overall, I don't think this is a bad rotation. Somebody might dislike that in the comments, but I really don't think it's a bad rotation, man. I don't know. Oh, Dodgers. They're the Dodgers. Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani, Gonsolin, Sasaki, Kershaw, May. Whatever, dude. Whatever. What? Padres. They have Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, and then we're starting to get dicey here. Listen to these names: Randy Vasquez, Matt Waldron, and Omar Cruz. I have to put them up here because they really do have a couple of bright spots. If they keep Dylan Cease, this is based on right now, obviously. The time of recording is January 31st. So, Dylan Cease might be gone by the time you see this video. But as for right now, he is a Padre, so I'm going to assume he is a Padre this season. And Michael King, very good. Could be a Cy Young candidate even. And then Yu Darvish is a plus pitcher, always has been. And plus, his mind is back on baseball. Remember last season, he had to go back to Japan to be with his family. Personal matter. Tough. But after that, this rotation really... Randy Vasquez, Matt Waldron, Omar Cruz. I love a knuckleballer, but I don't want to bank on it, So it's all right. For now, it's all right. If they trade Dylan Cease, the Padres piss me off beyond belief. It feels like you had the ball on the 2-yard line and then you ran backwards to midfield and took a sack, right? They were very close to beating the Dodgers last season. Now that old man Sadler's gone, rest in peace. You're going to have a terrible ownership who wants to sell and trade off, and That's lame as hell, man. I hate it. Arizona Diamondbacks. This one's not bad. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Erod, Brandon Pfaadt, Jordan Montgomery, Ryan Nelson's going to throw a bunch of innings too. Jordan Montgomery might not be on the team. Probably shouldn't be, all things considered. But who wants to take that albatross? Nobody. This rotation, though, I'm a fan, but I'm going to have to put him in a bright spot or two because I don't think it's that high, right? Corbin Burns is a very good pitcher. That's undisputed. He's an ace. Great, right? You know, we're here. All right, but Zach Gallen had a down year last year, probably the worst that he's had in a few years now, right? And I'm not sure if that's going to come back. His fastball is getting dented after being one of his best pitches. Merrill Kelly was good in the first half, got an injury, came back in the second half, and wasn't that good. I'm going to bank on Merrill Kelly being a plus starter. I like Merrill Kelly a ton. Erod, scary, right? I don't mind me some Erod. Him as your third is like, okay, that's kind of where he belongs, like a 3-4 starter. And then you're talking about guys like Brandon Pfaadt, can throw plus innings. I'm not sure what his ceiling is. That's another one where it's tough to project. But then you get like Jordan Montgomery, Ryan Nelson, who's going to battle it out for those innings. It's kind of gross regardless. But you start off so hot with Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. I think that can be a good 1-2-3. Definitely a plus 1-2-3. San Francisco, weird rotation. Listen to this. Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, Justin Verlander, and Hayden Birdsong. I'm not sure where to put this team, right? Because they have Logan Webb, who can always give you plus innings. Last year was a weird year for him. Even though his numbers rounded out to good, it felt like he wasn't for some stretches. And I'm a big Logan Webb guy. I actually drafted him really high in fantasy. That's why I know that he was getting dented for a little bit last year, right? I think I remember the Padres game. He threw like back-to-back against the Padres. One was like 8 innings shutout. The next game was like 3 1/3. But like Robbie Ray, I don't know what to do with that. Jordan Hicks last season was good until it seemed like his arm just kind of didn't have it in him anymore. You know, this is such a weird team. It's dicey. Kyle Harrison, I think, can throw plus innings, right? But Justin Verlander innings makes me kind of scared. He was not very good last year in Houston. Definitely wasn't his best self. I'm not sure where his numbers are going to land this year. Jordan Hicks is going to be a full-time starter. I think that'll be all right. He's going to be more accustomed to it. And then whatever the hell you can get out of Hayden Birdsong, which I'm not sure what that's going to be. So it's dicey, right? This is a team that could either be really good or really bad. You know, they got a high ceiling, but the floor of this team it feels low, like Sellers type of low. But I don't know. It's hard because I like giving the benefit of the doubt to the Giants organization and Buster Posey. I think that they're building something well over there. I'm not sure what's going to happen on the pitching side. All right, we're going to have our first God Does Not Shine His Light here. We got, Ryan Feltner, Austin Gomber, Herman Marquez, Kyle Freeland, Antonio Senzatella, and Chase Dolander. Herman Marquez is still a Rocky. I saw Herman. There's no way. I got to pull that back up. Herman Marquez is still a Rocky? Oh my God, he is. Yeah, no. We're done there. Now we're going to have another elite rotation. This one only has 5 guys listed because all they really need is 5 guys unless one of them gets hurt. But Seattle's looking at Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Mason Miller, Brian Wu, and Bryce Miller. That's his name, is Bryce Miller, not Mason Miller. Stupid. All right. But this rotation's gross. They might ship one off, rightfully so. They have almost no hitting, and they're relying on 5 pitchers to win them games. Houston Astros, we got Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown. Let me hover over them. Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, Spencer Arrighetti, Luis Garcia, Hayden Wesneski, and maybe Lance McCullers pitches. Maybe. I don't know. Barring they don't trade Framber Valdez, I think this is a great staff. Actually, do I? Yeah, man, I do, actually. Framber Valdez is a very good pitcher. He's an ace. Hunter Brown looked really good last season down the stretch. I really liked what I saw out of Hunter Brown, right? And then you're talking about Ronel Blanco, who threw very plus innings for them just last season, threw a no-hitter or whatever. That doesn't even matter, but look at his overall stats. He was impressive as hell. Then you're talking about Spencer Arrighetti, who I think can give you plus innings. And then Luis Garcia, who has in the past. You just have to see. He hasn't thrown a pitch in a while, so You're kind of hoping that he can come back healthy. I think he can. Hayden Wisniewski, who's a young guy, you just give him a chance, and I think he can provide something. And then Lance McCullers, if he pitches, the man that never pitches might pitch, right? But I think this is a really good staff. You got 3 guys up top in Fromber, Hunter Brown, and Ronald Blanco, who are all pretty good, I can't lie. Sacramento A's, Luis Severino, J.P. Sears, Jeffrey Springs, Joey Estes, Mitch Spence, and J.T. Ginn. Ginn? Not sure. It's dicey. Sevy is like a middle-of-the-pack pitcher who they paid to be an ace. You know, I like Sevy. I really do. I'm a Yankees fan. I watch Sevy. You know, I watched his freaking development. He is a great individual, and overall, he's a fine pitcher. But they're paying him ace money and trying to get him to be an ace, and I don't know if he has that in him per se, right? And then you're looking at J.P. Sears, who is an innings eater. He kind of gives me Jordan Lyles type of vibes. He can throw innings, but they're not going to be the best innings you've ever seen. Jeffrey Springs has thrown plus innings before. Joey Estes, Mitch Spence, JT Ginn. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that back end, right? It's not the worst rotation I've ever seen, but it's certainly not going to be. I don't think they're going to crack top 20, right? I think that's a fair assumption. Chicago White Sox, another one. Yeah, no, we're going right down there. Chicago White Sox, I got Jonathan Cannon, Martin Perez, Sean Burke, Davis Martin, Bryce Wilson, and Drew Thorpe. Maybe Drew Thorpe's good. I'm unfamiliar with Sean Burke and Davis Martin, but maybe they can give you plus innings. How many games do you think they'll win this year? Real talk. How many games will the White Sox win? Comment down below, how many games will the White Sox win? 162 games in a season, I can really see them winning 50. Okay? 50. Texas Rangers. Oh, this is the if they're healthy unit, right? Listen to this. If they're healthy, you have Nate Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, John Gray, Tyler Mahle, or is it I never learned. Is it Mahle or Molly? I don't really. Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, and Cody Bradford. I love, dude, if healthy, this is a great rotation. Nate Eovaldi is a very good, capable pitcher. Jacob deGrom, again, he's literally Mr. if healthy, right? He's the epitome of like, well, if he got 30 starts, he'd have been this good, but he doesn't touch 30 starts, right? John Gray can throw plus innings. Tyler Mahle, I got to move it down. Do I have to move it down one? No, because Kumar Rocker looked awesome last year. In the limited innings we saw, Kumar Rocker looked really good, right? And then you're talking about Leiter and Bradford on the back end, who are 2 young guys who can really help and pitch in. I like this a lot, right? I just, can they stay healthy? Nate Eovaldi's had 5 Tommy John surgeries. Jacob deGrom's missed years of his career. You know, Tyler Mahle hasn't pitched in a while. I don't know, but this is a team where, hey, man, if they could stay healthy, you're talking about a decent rotation here, and I'm just going to assume they are. Angels, we have Yusei Kikuchi, Tyler Anderson, Jose Soriano, Kyle Hendricks, Reed Detmers, and Jack Kochanovich. I'm not going to pronounce that one right until I hear it on broadcast, right? So, Kikuchi, Anderson, Soriano, Hendricks, Detmers. It's dicey. I like Yusei Kikuchi. He threw really good innings for Houston last season. Tyler Anderson was really good as well for the Angels. I don't think this is I don't think they have an ace. I'll just come out and say it. I don't think there's an ace on this roster. Reed Detmers has been hyped up by me and many others for like 3 years now as being like the next ace for them, and no, it hasn't happened yet. Not saying I'm done with it or done with that thought, but last season there was trade rumors around him, rightfully so, and he hasn't developed a little bit. And then you're talking about some other guys. Kyle Hendricks is like, he was awful last season. I don't know what to expect, and I just don't like it very much. Cleveland time, we have Tanner Bybee and Ben Lively to start it. I don't like how close their names are to each other. Not a fan of that. But Tanner Bybee, Ben Lively, Gavin Williams, Luis Ortiz, Tristan McKenzie, and then I threw Shane Bieber in there because I don't know how many innings he's going to throw, but Shane Bieber was electric last season in the 4 or 5 starts he threw. And then Joey Cantillo. Joey Cantillo's in there. Can't forget about Joey Cantillo. This is a good staff. I'd say there's a bright spot or two. I really like Tanner Bybee. He looked really good in the playoffs last season as well. Ben Lively, I think you're still looking to develop him, but I'm really interested in Gavin Williams' development. He was one of those guys that I was hyped up on when he was a prospect, and I was like, this guy is the future of Cleveland pitching. Maybe, still maybe, but we haven't seen enough, right? Luis Ortiz, whatever he can give you. Sticks had a really bad year last year, but there's got to be something in there, right? I'm just a fan of Tristan McKenzie's. As a person, I think as a player, of course, I really like him. But as a person, he seems like a good dude. Seen interviews with him, he seems like a fine guy. I just hope he can revitalize his career a little bit next year. And then Shane Bieber. I don't know what he's going to give you. I don't think you'd know what he's going to give you either, in all fairness. He's coming off a major surgery. And he, like I said, though, he looked really good in those couple of starts. It's only a 1-year deal, or 1+1, I think. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. So, you know what? You took a chance, and I don't know. I think it's a decent rotation, and I feel like Cleveland's known for developing some decent pitchers, so I kind of trust them on this. Minnesota, we got Pablo Lopez, Bailey Ober, Joe Ryan, Simeon Woods Richardson, Chris Paddock, and David Festa. This is I actually like the bright spots on this team a lot, to be honest with you. Pablo Lopez had a down year last year, but I think he can bounce back. He was really, really good the season before last year, so you know what I mean? I don't think he just regressed, fell off a cliff like that. Bailey Ober threw very good innings last year. I'm a fan of Bailey Ober. Extension king. He's really, really tall, so that helps him. Joe Ryan is another guy who threw really good innings last year. That trade looks really good in retrospect for the Twins, not on the Rays side of the things. Obviously, after that, Simeon Woods Richardson, Chris Paddock, David Festa. Chris Paddock's been a guy that I thought's going to break out for, I don't know, a half a decade now. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it might one day, right? David Festa. I saw Zebby Matthews. Do you like Zebby Matthews? I'm not sure what to expect out of him. Simeon Woods Richardson's not a bad pitcher, though. I don't think he's that bad. I think his floor is higher, right? I like this Twins rotation a little bit. I can't lie to you. Kansas City Royals, it's damn near the same rotation as last year. Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans, Michael Wacha, Mike Lorenzen, Alec Marsh, Chris Bubich, and Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright. Interesting. Lugo pitched really good last year, got Cy Young votes. He always wanted to not come out of the bullpen, and finally someone gives him a chance to start, and he looks pretty good. Congrats to Seth Lugo for cashing in on an opportunity given to him. Cole Reagans, obviously the Aroldis Chapman deal. That was interesting, but he's so good. I had him in fantasy. I picked him in like the 3rd round, and I was like, I was happy with that. People were like, what are you doing? And I was like, nah, I know what I'm doing. Obviously, you have Michael Wacha, who threw plus innings last year as well. I'm a fan of Mike Wacha. Mike Lorenzen thrown well in other places. I think Kansas City might help him, to be honest with you. And it's just Chris Bubich, Kyle Wright. It's a fine rotation. But bright spot or two. That's kind of what it is. Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans at the top. Those are like two kind of aces, to be honest with you. Cole Reagans deserves the ace nod, and then I'm going to give it to Seth Lugo as well because he threw like an ace last season. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect the guy who just had career highs last year. Detroit baseball. I'm so used to saying Detroit basketball. Yeah, no, it doesn't work here. All right, Tarek Skubal, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Jackson Jobe, Alex Cobb, and Keider Montero, or Keider. I think it's Keider, something like that. It has one bright spot. I don't know what I said. Reese Olson threw plus innings, but I'm not sure how sustainable his plus innings were because he was getting hit. He was a soft contact guy. Didn't strike out a ton of people. But Tarek Skubal is just so good. A bright spot or two is literally the pinnacle of bright spot. Tarek Skubal is a modern day ace, a horse, as you will. And he showed that in the playoffs when he was just dogging everybody. He was looking at lineup cards 1 through 9 going food, right? Tarek Skubal's a dog. He was my Cy Young pick. I don't have video proof, but he was my Cy Young pick for last season. I was right. I don't care. The real ones know. Alex Cobb is there, but they got a bunch of young guys like Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Jackson Jobe. A couple of young guys in there. Not sure what they're going to give. I'm not sure what they're going to give. So I can't bank it too high, but when you have Tarek Skubal, the floor of your pitching unit in rotation ain't bad. I mean, you have a guy who's once every 5 days is going to win you a game, essentially. So that's pretty cool. Washington Nationals, we got Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, Mitchell Parker. I always forget that his name is Mitchell Parker. I don't know why. I think it's something else. DJ Hers, Trevor Williams, and Mike Soroka and Cade Cavalli. Mackenzie Gore was plus toward the end of last season. Jake Irvin, man, for like 2 weeks last year, Jake Irvin was generational. For like a span of like 3 or 4 starts, I thought Jake Irvin was that guy. He wasn't down the stretch. He looked really bad. Trevor Williams before injury was really good as well. This is a rotation that's like, I'm going to put it in. They got a bright spot or two, bro. Mackenzie Gore is a good pitcher. In my mind, I think of Mackenzie Gore, and I'm like, that's a good pitcher, right? Jake Irvin, I think he can give you plus Irvins. Yeah, dude, I think he can give you plus Irvins. Jake Irvin can give you plus innings. And then Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams had a really good year last year. I know some people might not think his savant page is super sexy, but I think he's a decent pitcher. I think his ceiling is not the highest, but his floor is also decently high. So, there's some value there. And then Mike Soroka. Maybe you can be the team that fixes Mike Soroka. Everyone keeps thinking they can fix Mike Soroka. I don't know who can. ATL, what's going on in the A? We're talking Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Schwellenbach. I'm partially dyslexic. I kind of mix up. I think it's Schwallenbeck, but it's Schwellenbach. Just flipping some letters. Spencer Strider, Grant Holmes, Ian Anderson, and A.J. Smith-Shawver. It's a weird rotation, man. Top 3, you're looking at Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, Schwellenbach, and Strider. That 4 right there it's great staff. Just 4 pitchers that are lineup bucklers. Schwellenbach has something. I'm not saying he has something to prove, but he definitely has to repeat last season for me to truly believe it. However, Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, and Spencer Strider is automatically like, that's a really good rotation start right there. Whatever they get out of Ian Anderson's interesting. He's the most interesting part of this equation. He has been a plus pitcher before. However, he's missed a ton of time recently, just injured every season. I don't know what they're going to get out of Ian Anderson. I think that's the biggest question mark I have for the Braves is what can they get out of a guy like Ian Anderson? Or can they get plus innings out of A.J. Smith-Shawver, their wild card game starter who got his ass beat? Or Grant Holmes? I'm not sure what to expect out of that like 5 spot in their rotation. And that's kind of what takes them away from, they do have multiple Cy Young candidates, but the thing is they don't have like 1 through 5 in Seattle and LA are just hole punch. These guys are good, right? When you're dealing with the Braves, though, you're talking about that back end that's like Holmes, Anderson, Smith-Shawver. I don't know what you're going to get, right? And so being in the top 6 rotations in baseball isn't a knock. Philly, you have Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, Luzardo, and Andrew Painter if he ends up coming up. Yeah, it's one of the best rotations in baseball because they have it 1 through 5. You're talking about Zach Wheeler, who could have won Cy Young last year. If Chris Sale doesn't win the pitching Triple Crown, then Zach Wheeler wins Cy Young. We're talking about it differently. And he's been robbed of a couple of Cy Youngs at this point. That poor guy, every time he has a great season, somebody else has a really great season as well. And then Aaron Nola had a down year last year. He's still a plus pitcher. You're talking about Christopher Sanchez, who has a good changeup, and he can pitch. Ranger Suarez, who's a plus pitcher. He was all last season. He was really good. He was in the All-Star game, I believe, right? And then Jesus Luzardo, who they traded for. Awesome move. Awesome move by them to steal him from a division rival. Although he had a bad year last year, Jesus Luzardo has been a plus pitcher for many years before that, so there's a level of trust I kind of have with him. And then, Andrew Painter. If Andrew Painter comes up and he is as advertised, you're having a 6-man rotation that is 6 guys who can shut down a lineup card. So I really like what Philly's got, to be honest. They might be one of the best rotations. They are one of the best rotations in baseball. It's just a fact. Miami. Oh, boy. Sandy, who might be traded, but I got to bank on him being there because, like I said before. And then you're talking about after Sandy, it's Ryan Weathers, Max Meyer, Edward Cabrera, Valenti Beozo. I think it's Beozo. And then I chose Yuri Perez because Yuri Perez was really good the last time we saw him pitch the major league level. However, this is a very, it's getting put up. It's dicey, right? Because you at least have Sandy, right? You know what? I don't even know, because Sandy's coming off a big injury. He missed basically all last season. This is yeah. I don't like anything to do with it. Ryan Weathers, Max Meyer. Max Meyer was pretty good last year in the couple of games he threw, but that's all he threw was a couple of games. So what am I supposed to do with that? And then Yuri Perez hasn't thrown in a while. Edward Cabrera he's raw as hell. Pause. Mega pause. But he's like, I don't know how to describe it. Edward Cabrera is like NBA terms, like Sekou Doumbouya, or like, I don't know, who was the one prospect that was 2 years away from being 2 years away? Who am I thinking of right now? It was Bruno Caboclo. I freaking knew it. I knew it was a Raptors pick. Either way, he's kind of like Bruno Caboclo. He's super, like, he could be really good. He could also just not be in the league in a year and a half. So I'm not sure where to pan him. And then like Valente, I don't know. The Marlins suck bad. I could put them lower. So be happy, Marlins fans. There's a tier below you. Metropolitans. This is a weird one. Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, Frankie Montas, David Peterson, DP. Shout out DP. Clay Holmes, and Paul Blackburn. They're going to go and hear me out. I don't think it's a terrible rotation because I think like Sean Manaea is a really good pitcher, and last year was his first year being good again. So maybe he makes some improvements and becomes great. Or maybe he's just really good again. Who knows? If he's really good again, you'll take that. Kodai Senga pitches once every 6 days. Mandatory, basically. He can't do 5. And overall, Ghost Fork is really cool. He's a good pitcher. He can end up being your ace, but the only downside about Kodai Senga being your ace is the fact that he can only pitch once every 6 days, right? And then Frankie Montas was, again, it's another team where it's like, are you the one to fix Frankie Montas? Are you? I don't know. The Brewers couldn't fix Frankie Montas. The Yankees couldn't fix Frankie Montas. The Reds couldn't fix Frankie Montas. But can the Mets fix Frankie Montas? I don't know. DP, really good, but I don't know if his success is sustainable. Look at his Savant numbers from last season. Oh my God. Ocean Blue is what I like to call his Savant page. And then Clay Holmes, first year as a starter. I don't know what to expect. Paul Blackburn missed a majority of last season, so that definitely makes me a little bit skittish. So, they get lower, but I think their lineup makes up for it because their hitting lineup is just really good. However, if I know anything about Dumpster Dive Dave Stearns, he can make something good out of this, but I don't know. I have to see it to believe it. This on paper, like Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes, Paul Blackburn, I don't know what to expect out of that, and I don't want to put big expectations on them. And then Kodai pitching once every 6 days, coming off a big injury. I don't know what to expect either. So there's a lot of question marks with the Mets rotation. Their bullpen's getting better, though. They did just bring back Ryan Stanek? Somebody like that. All right, now all we got is the Central, the yucky division. I'm kidding, but I'm not, because this division gets yucky pretty consistently. We're going to start off with Milwaukee. Freddie P., Brandon Woodruff, Nestor Cortez, Aaron Civale, Tobias Myers, Aaron Ashby, and DL Hall. I actually kind of like this rotation. I really do, to be honest. I think it's a plus rotation. You have Peralta, who's obviously going to give you really good innings. Freddie P has always been decent. Last year wasn't his best, but it was his healthiest, I believe, which is always a good sign, right? And then you're working with Brandon Woodruff coming off a big injury. That's a question mark. It's a question mark. Big injury. He's been injured quite a bit, unfortunately. But he's always been really good, so it's like, do you want to give him benefit of the doubt? I don't know. And then after that, Nestor Cortez. I don't know. Just don't let him see Freddie Freeman. Don't. Aaron Boone, why are you putting in Nestor Cortez? Aaron Boone, we have Mr. Boone, we have a lefty who throws sidearm in the bullpen. Why is Nestor Cortez? Mr. Boone, don't put Nestor Cortez. All right, I've run that bit too far. We had Tim Hill in the bullpen, and he used Nestor Cortez. I'll never get over it. But DL Hall, I think he's decent. He got moved to the bullpen, I think, last year, late. But I think he can be a pretty good pitcher. He was a top prospect for a reason. And I think the Brewers are one of those teams that usually gets the best out of their pitchers. And then Tobias Myers was underrated really good last year. Like, he threw plus playoff innings, too. Wild card, whatever. And on top of that, he was a really good starter during the regular season. I like what Tobias Myers showed me. So, they get moved up. But it's not ultra high because, like, Woody has been hurt. Peralta wasn't great last year. But overall, I still think it's a plus rotation. And plus, it's the Brewers, bro. They always get good stuff out of everybody somehow. Chicago Cubs. We got Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon, Javier Assad, Matt Boyd, and Colin Ray. This is a... Imanaga and Steele up at top. I'm going to have to put them here. It's not bad. Imanaga, Steele, Taillon is like a 1-2-3 that's pretty good. If you can keep Jameson Taillon as your 3-starter, I think you're in a fine place. Javier Assad threw good innings last season. Javier Assad, until he started to not throw good innings last year. And then Matt Boyd and Colin Ray are just there to fill innings, and I think they can do that. I think they're capable of doing that. Matt Boyd isn't a bad pitcher. St. Louis Cardinals, we have Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, Miles Michaelis, Andrew Palante. I think it's Palante. I know it's Palante, not Payante. I thought it was Payante for a while. I think it's Palante. Steven Matz, and then Quinn Matthews. What is this rotation? Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty. Fine. If Eric Fetty wasn't even that good as a card, I don't know. I'm going to put it in like, it's dicey. Miles Michaelis, I don't know. Andrew Palante, I don't know. Steven Matz, again, that's a bad deal. They gave him a bad deal. And then Quinn Matthews, unsure about him. He might end up starting more. But overall, just like the rest of the Cardinals team, I'm like, what is happening? What is happening here? I don't get it. Let me know down below, Cardinals fans. What the heck? What are we doing? What are we doing here? Will Sonny Gray get traded at the deadline? Another time where Sonny Gray gets dealt at the deadline because it worked out so well last time. And then Eric Fetty might also get dealt because he threw really good innings with the White Sox. Not as good with the Cardinals. I'm not sure about that. Cincinnati, Hunter Green, Brady Singer, Andrew Abbott, Nick Martinez, Nick Lodolo, Rhett Lauder. While to some people they might be like Hunter Green and then what? Nick Martinez. I keep calling him Nick Matthews. Nick Martinez threw good innings last year. Andrew Abbott's always been like a guy. Andrew Abbott and Nick Lodolo are two guys where it's like, man, they have good stuff, but they just can't piece it together, right? But I'm a fan. I like this rotation a little bit. I'm going to have to put it in a bright spot or two. I know, it's getting full up here. I know it is. But I think they're all like in the same boat of rotation where it's like a couple of good starters and then really the back end starts to get a little bit dicey. I'm not sure, but I don't mind this. Hunter Green was a legit ace last year before injury. Brady Singer can throw plus innings. Andrew Abbott, like I said, Andrew Abbott and Nick Lodolo are two guys that have nasty stuff that just haven't pieced it together. And then Nick Martinez and Rhett Lauder, who give you plus innings. I like Rhett Lauder. I like his hair. And then I also... That's a weird compliment. Nick Martinez was really good last year. So I'm gonna put it up there. I like this team a little bit. I like how they're building. Last but not least, the Big P, Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, Bailey Falter, Johan Oviedo, and Bubba Chandler. You have Paul Skeens. That gets you put up there pretty automatically. Paul Skeens and, God forbid, Keller have a bounce-back season, or Jared Jones learn how to consistently pitch well. You know, Bailey Falter, I don't know about that one. The rest of the rotation is kind of mid, but when you put Paul Skeens and then Mitch Keller, I believe in Mitch Keller. Maybe I'm crazy. And I think the Pirates were looking to trade some pitching recently, like move away from some of their pitching. I don't like that idea. I think they should just build around this three-head rotation with Skeens, Keller, Jones, because I think it's fun, but at the same time, if you're the Pirates, you don't want to spend all the money and have a mid-team. I feel ya. But overall, I think it's a fine rotation, spearheaded by one of the best 5 pitchers in baseball, maybe, in Paul Skeens. Let me look this down one more time. I feel like a couple of these teams got to move, right? It feels too clogged, but I'm not sure who. Do I think the Red Sox rotation should move up? Crochet, Houck, Bayo, Crawford, Buehler, Giolito. I don't know. Blue Jays, Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, Francis, Rodriguez, Hoffman. One of these teams has to move for some reason. I just feel like it's too clogged up here. Who do I think it's going to be? I don't mind Arizona. Burns, Gallen, Kelly, Rodriguez, Fott, Montgomery. You know what? I'm moving Arizona up. I think it could be a really good staff. I think it could work. They could definitely make this work. You're talking about Burns, Gallen, Kelly. If Zach Gallen's anything like 2021 or 2022 Zach Gallen or 2023 Zach Gallen, you're talking about a fine player. If you're talking about 2024 Zach Gallen, right? But I think there's so many pluses in this rotation that they can make it work. On top of that, you just have a certified ace in Corbin Burns, so that's pretty cool. Otherwise than that, I feel like I didn't do a bad job. If you disagree, you are already going to let me know down in the comments. See, you don't get comments when people like what you say. You get comments when people disagree with what you say, right? That's the tough part of YouTube. That's the internet in general. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, make sure to subscribe. I love having you guys around. I love seeing new sub alerts. I'm going to go catch the game. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining.